Hello, my name's Stephen, and this is Faith Ministries. Do you remember when you were at school and you had to read Shakespeare?
But who would have thought the old man to have had so much blood in him?
Do you mark that?
If you're like a lot of us, you'd struggle through Shakespeare and you'd think, what are they talking about? What is this English that they're trying to use? And oftentimes we would turn to something like this. We would turn to a page of William Shakespeare in plain and simple English. Books that you could read online or whatever it may be, so you could understand what William Shakespeare was talking about. Well, today, for many of you out there, I know that the King James Version, which has been around since the 1600s, it is one of the most beloved translations of the Bible that people have been using for hundreds of years. It just rolls off the tongue of many people when they're quoting scriptures. And people find it hard to go from the King James to one of the newer ones like the NIV or the Amplified or the ESV or something like that, because they don't want to desert the King James Bible. Well, there is a Bible that came out recently, and it's not a translation, but it is an adaptation or a modification, a simplification, that's the word, of the King James Bible. And it's called the Simplified King James Bible. Here on the Simplified KJV.com, it says that it's the same King James Bible you trust, just easier to read, called the Simplified KJV. The Barber's Simplified King James Version builds off the familiarity and trustworthiness of the King James Bible while removing the difficulties of antiquated language and punctuation. Shortly, we'll have a look at a comparison between the Simplified King James Version and the original King James Version to see what they've actually done. But first, here's a short video put out by Barber Publishing explaining as to what they have done. So here, back on the website, King James Version, we have an explanation of what it's all about. And it says, will you give us a try? And so actually you can download a free sampler. And that free sampler is the whole book of Genesis. And they've actually written it out. It is a copy of the Simplified King James Version, starting at the beginning and going through all the way as you would get if you actually buy the Bible itself. And so it gives examples of updates and it flashes across, for example, forbear, and the Simplified is endure. King James, prating, talking, changing from haste to have, espoused to betrothed, gavest to gave, chide to argue, holpen to helped, thee to you, feedest, feed, faileth, fails, forbear, endure. And so if we go over here to about what is the Simplified King James Version, just building upon what that video said, it is builds off the familiarity and trustworthy of the King James Bible while removing its challenges, antiquated language and punctuation through the judicious updating, keeping all the original translation work of the 1611 Bible. Simplified King James Version refreshes old verb forms, breaks up long sentences by changing colons and semicolon to periods, adds paragraphing, inserts quotation marks into spoken language. Old forms of address are brought up to date with divine pronouns capitalized, Confusing older terms such as wrath and divers are updated for greater comprehension. Question is, why did they do it? It says here, oftentimes Christians feel like they have to choose between the King James they know and the trust in the newer translations that are easier to read. And it says that they wanted to break that cycle and develop a version, not a translation, with a minor non-textual updates to the trusted King James Version. So that's one of the things to note about the Simplified King James Version. It is not a translation. They're not actually going to the Greek, not going to the original Hebrew and putting it all together like the ESV and the King James and the Amplified and the New American Standard, etc. What they've taken is that they say, okay, we're going to stay with the King James. They've done all the groundwork. People love it. We'll just modify it to make it more readable. Take out some of the old antiquated English, etc., and make it easier for people to understand and read in today's world. So who put it together? As I said briefly before, it was created by the Barbour Publishing Group and a biblically faithful and 100% employee-owned small business in rural Ohio. And the revision work, they say, was conducted by Peachtree Publishing Services. And they are an editorial company that services publishers who desire to create perfect editions of Bible and other Bible-related books. On one of the tabs, it says, compare to the King James Version. Now, it's not that easy to see on the screen here, but I'll just show you what it actually looks like. As you can see here on the screen, they've brought together the King James Version on this left and the Simplified on the right. And if you were to magnify this on your desktop or on your phone or iPad or whatever it may be, you can actually compare various scriptures as you go through it. And you can scroll through. They've got selected verses and chapters. But what we'll do is that I have selected a few and out of Genesis, and we'll have a look as to what they have actually changed. So if we turn to Genesis 1:1-5, in the Simplified King James Version, it says, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was on. Go down here to the King James, we see that they have changed the on to from the King James from upon to a more modern on, the face of the deep. Continuing on, it says, and the Spirit of God moved on. Again, they've changed upon the face of the waters. And God said, and here they've actually added quotation marks, whereas in the original King James, they don't have quotation marks. So you can see that it's God or somebody else actually speaking. Let there be light, and there was light. And God saw the light and that it was good. Again, they've put in a punctuation line, a comma, rather than a colon. And God divided the light from the darkness. And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And the evening and the morning were the first day. As you can see, just in this first 5 verses of Genesis chapter 1, there's not a lot of changes that they've actually done. They've changed upon to on and a colon, a full colon to a comma and that sort of thing, and put in inverted commas for the quotation marks. But let's have a look at one where in chapter 12, I believe it is, where there is more discussion and talking going on. Let's have a look at that one. So we look at Genesis chapter 12, verses 1-3. In the Simplified, it goes, and now the Lord had said to Abram, straight up we have changed from unto to. And again, they put in quotation marks, whereas in the original King James down here, there is no quotation marks that somebody's speaking. It says, get out of your country. The original King James says, get thee out of thy country. So get out of your country and from your family. Get out of thy country and from thy kindred. And up here it says, and from your father's house to a land that I will show you. Whereas the original King James says, and from thy father's house unto a land that I will show thee. The old English S-H-E-W rather than S-H-O-W. And in verse 2, it says, in the King James, it says, and I will make of thee, and it says up here, I will make of you a great nation, and I will bless thee, and I will bless you, and make thy name, and make your name great, and thou shalt be a blessing, and you shall be a blessing. Now, what they've done here is they've taken this colon and put a full stop to make a sentence out of it. and because there's a break between verses 2 and 3. And he goes on here and says, I will bless them that bless thee. In the New Simplified, it says, and I will bless those that bless you, and curse him who curses you. And in the original, it says, and curse him that curses thee. And in thee, simplified to you, shall all the families of the earth be blessed. So we can see that it's pretty obvious what they've done, in that they are not actually changing, not translating, and they're not changing the format of the King James, but they're just getting rid of some of the Old English, putting some punctuation marks in, making it a bit more easier to read. So I've actually got another tab here which talks about some of the frequently asked questions. Let's have a look at them. On their website, they've got frequently asked questions about their simplified book. It says, is it a translation or is it a version? They say that it is a version. The term translation implies going back to the original documents, to the original languages, which we didn't do, they said. Keeping all the original translation work of the 1611 Bible. The Simplified King James Version carefully updates old styles that may interfere with your understanding today while leaving the King James translation work untouched. And a lot of people will be going, amen. What source documents were used? Only the King James Version itself, they said. We did not attempt to create a new translation from the original Hebrew and Greek manuscripts. Instead, our editors simply updated confusing words, spelling, sentence structures, and punctuated issues in the King James Version. Question number 3, why change the King James Version? As some people may ask. They said, well, with more than 400 years of history, the King James Version is well known and much loved, but it can be difficult to understand. Some of its terms have changed meanings over the centuries. Its sentence structures and punctuation styles can vary widely from contemporary norms. So it's designed to remove all these challenges to the modern reader. And who produced the Simplified King James Version, as we've touched on already, created by the Barber Publishing Group, a Christian publishing house in Ohio, and the revision work, again, was done by the Peachtree Publishing Services. So what form of Bible do they actually put out? Is it just one Bible or several types? Let's have a look at their website and see what they say there. As you can see here on the Simplified King James Version website, they have 4 types of actual Bibles that they've produced. They've got this, the Barber Simplified King James in a sort of like a bluish cover. One here with more of a browny cover with a pattern on it. One here they call the Simplified a Wildflower Medley. And on this side here, a pewter branch. So they got 4 different types. And if you are in America, I presume, or you will order from somewhere else in Australia, they normally retail at $39.99, but your price online is $29.99 or even $26.24 for these ones over here. So it's a pretty good deal. They're quite good. So that is the Simplified King James Bible. Not a translation, but a version, a modified version, based upon the beloved King James Version that's been around for 400 years, updating the modern language with simpler sentence structure to make it easier to understand, more accessible for people like you and me who find it hard to read the Old English. From what we can tell from reading the Bible, reading the some of the passages in there, it maintains the same faithful adherence to the original text and the same beautiful prose and poetry that we're so used to, that has made the King James Version a classic tradition. Again, it's perfect for personal study, for group discussions and public reading, and for even preaching from, I believe. Whether you're new to the Bible or you've been reading it for many years, I think the Simplified King James Version is a great choice for anyone who wants to deepen their relationship with God, to get a greater understanding of what the Bible is all about, what the Bible is saying, grow in understanding of the Word. And so you can do yourself a favor and grab a copy, either an ebook or an actual solid copy online. It's a Bible that, okay, it's not a different translation, but it is like the New King James. They changed some of the structure of it and brought in other, they looked again at the Greek and at the Hebrew. But with this one, all they're doing is looking at the English. They're looking at the punctuation and then modifying it so that we can read it easier. I think you'll find it an interesting and easy book to read, still maintain in the King James Version, or the beauty of the King James Version, as we've grown to love over these years. Thanks for watching this video. If you like it, please like and subscribe and share so others may see it. And until next time, God bless.